When discussing the midsize luxury crossover market, Infiniti was never really a brand worth considering, especially when compared to the primary competitors such as Acura and Lexus, and the sales figures reflected that. Now with the 2022 QX60, Infiniti has returned to being a viable option that can hold its own in this very competitive segment, while at the same time being a bit more affordable than European offerings. On the flip side, the Acura MDX has also gone through extensive changes recently, becoming an attractive and sporty 3-row crossover that differs greatly from the Lexus RX, but is also a substantial improvement from the prior generation. With both the QX60 and MDX simultaneously being enticing for a wide range of buyers, let's see which crossover is the best fit for you and your family. Prior to 2022, both the MDX and QX60 found themselves in a similar position. They were aging and no longer cutting edge in this segment, as other brands pressed forward with futuristic designs and more tech-driven cabins. While Acura and Infiniti now have up-to-date and good-looking crossovers, it's Acura specifically that's taken this market by storm, and a lot of that can be attributed to the road presence. Evolutionary in design, there are cosmetic elements taken from the prior generation, but the A-Spec package accentuates the changes made to the front fascia, as it looks more angular, streamlined, and aggressive. Acura's signature diamond pentagon grille, outlined in gloss black on the model we had featured, added a nice color contrast to the Apex Blue paint color. And becoming a staple for the appearance of all vehicles in the lineup are the LED headlights, which really makes the MDX more upscale than in the past. Despite its size, the 3-row crossover doesn't have that typical boxy shape, as even the roofline is lower and rounded, letting us know that Acura's intentions for this crossover is to be sporty and athletic. By opting for the A-Spec over the technology package, LED fog lights will help complete the front end of the MDX, while at the same time giving drivers better lighting on dimly lit roads. Then coming around to the back, this is where the MDX has changed the most, as the LED taillights will take on the same shape and design as what we see on the TLX, but also the C-pillar architecture, body lines, and rear bumper have all been improved significantly to match the dynamic looks of the front fascia. The MDX, which was always seen as a luxury crossover, takes on the form of being sporty and capable, as the direction this segment has taken recently is to appeal to buyers through performance, rather than just being seen as family haulers. On the flip side, for the Infiniti QX60, most of its looks relies heavily upon the redesigned Nissan Pathfinder, which isn't necessarily a bad thing, as the body lines and aesthetic features brings a subtle hint of luxurious qualities. Infiniti has always excelled at giving their vehicles their own personalities and characteristics, often integrating upscale and sophisticated styling that you want to see in this market. The QX60 for 2022 brings a lot of maturity, but also modernism, as the front and rear fascias are more rounded and the body lines are smoother compared to the prior generation. Up front, the combination of chrome and gloss black accents adds a classy and sporty personality to this 3-row crossover, with the muscular design for the front bumper and the full LED headlights providing a futuristic road presence. As you make your way to the back, the rounder rear fascia and thinner LED taillights gives the QX60 a trendy look, while also being a departure from the understated road presence that we saw last generation. Compared to the MDX, the QX60 isn't trying to be a barnstormer in this segment, but rather focusing primarily on being a comfortable family-friendly crossover that gives buyers a vehicle that's classy and modern without unnecessary cosmetic features that don't fit the personality of this 3-row SUV. How we rate and measure where a luxury crossover places within its market has changed quite a bit in recent years, as even the 3-row crossover segment has become sportier but also more tech-driven, which are two key aspects that play a vital role in the buying habits for most consumers. Acura and Infiniti have never truly been thrown into the same conversation as European rivals, However, both brands have drastically improved to offer a better experience when you step inside their vehicles. First, taking a look at the QX60, the model we had featured was a Sensory, which sits on the higher end of the trim levels for Infiniti. The available heated, ventilated, and massaging leather trim seats for both the driver and front passenger, and also the soft touch materials found throughout, was a pleasant surprise. While many will claim that the QX60 is just a nicer Nissan Pathfinder, the extra comfort and overall refinement is on par with most vehicles in this price range. Better yet, the technology you receive helps propel the QX60 into the 2020s. As an available full digital gauge cluster, which is customizable and displays a wide range of information and vehicle settings, is exactly what this crossover needed to be seen as a legitimate contender amongst its closest rivals. Optional, a head-up display will keep your eyes on the road rather than that gauge cluster. But it's the user interface that we feel gives the QX60 a slight edge over the Acura MDX, which we'll get into shortly. Despite sharing the same infotainment system as the Nissan Pathfinder, the 12.3-inch touchscreen is a perfect fit, as it's easy to navigate and is very responsive. Found on the center console is a rotary dial and quick access buttons to get you to different menus efficiently. And adding a classy aesthetic is the clean design for the climate control settings, which can be found just beneath the head unit. While not as upscale as a German or even Korean 3-row crossover, the QX60's interior is a pleasant place to be. The Acura MDX, on the other hand, will offer a sportier and enthusiast-focused experience, especially if you opt for the A-Spec. The contrast red leather seats with the ultra-suede inserts immediately sets a tone for this crossover, and lets you know that your time behind the wheel will be anything but boring. The interior mimics a fighter jet-like cockpit, with the dashboard wrapping around you to provide a safe and secure feeling. In front of you, a full digital gauge cluster can be customized to display a variety of information, much like the Infiniti QX60. But it's the user interface that does spoil the whole package that the MDX is offering to consumers. With Acura's insistency on not using a touchscreen, drivers are reduced to using a trackpad, which will take some time to get used to, and it can get frustrating at times to try selecting icons on the screen and accessing different menus. If you can look past all of this, the MDX will be a solid choice, but the QX60 does prioritize luxury slightly more, which is why we lean towards Infiniti as being the comfortable and family-friendly option when it pertains to the interior. Acura has always been the performance arm of Honda, often being the more enthusiast-focused manufacturer that can provide an engaging driving experience while also being upscale and luxurious. For the 4th generation MDX, this crossover isn't merely a Japanese competitor that undercuts European rivals, but rather a 3-row SUV that out of the gate is athletic and agile, even if you opt for a non-Type S model. Under the hood, the MDX is powered by a 3.5-liter V6 engine, putting out 290 horsepower and 267 pound-feet of torque. And brand new for this generation is a 10-speed automatic transmission to provide crisper gear shifts, making this crossover feel sporty during aggressive accelerations. With a respectable 0 to 60 time of just over 6 seconds, you'd think that would be enough to get us excited. But Acura's emphasis on other key aspects for the driving experience is where buyers may find it to be the ultimate daily driver. Being built on its own unique platform, at least for the time being, has worked wonders for the MDX. In the past, you'd get behind the wheel of this SUV and feel similarities to the Honda Pilot it was based on. But this model sits on a chassis that's specifically designed for the MDX, and that may be why steering input has an uncanny resemblance to European competitors. The handling is very responsive and decently weighted, and despite having to deal with body roll, the suspension does show some rigidity, which is why we feel the driving dynamics are the MDX's strongest attributes. In contrast, the Infiniti QX60 returns to this market with a completely different approach, compromising on both performance and luxury to find itself in between the Acura MDX and Lexus RX 350. Thanks to the 3.5-liter V6 engine, producing 295 horsepower and 270 pound-feet of torque, and the all-new 9-speed automatic transmission that replaces the highly unpopular CVT from last year, Infiniti's midsize crossover feels peppy. This new pairing alone has already drawn in new buyers to the Infiniti brand, and with the 0 to 60 time below 7 seconds, you'll have the capability and confidence to get around slower drivers on the highway. Handling is more than adequate, as the steering does display some weight, which in turn provides a good amount of feedback. However, the QX60 is not as sharp as the Acura MDX, but it's not as sedated and numb like the Lexus RX 350. Within the confines of this comparison, buyers will find the QX60 to lean a bit more towards the softer and luxurious side of the spectrum, whereas the MDX quickly demonstrates its sporty DNA, which is why Infiniti may appeal to consumers with families, as the ride comfort is suitable for longer road trips, and you don't feel as compelled to drive as aggressively as you would behind the wheel of an MDX. That isn't to say the QX60 isn't fun in its own right, but Infiniti instilled traditional values in this 3-year-old crossover that we believe is conducive for a wider range of car shoppers. For the first time in many years, Acura and Infiniti have two solid crossovers that are great alternatives to European competitors. But it's no longer solely predicated on undercutting rivals when it pertains to pricing. However, the MDX and QX60 have more differences than similarities, where Infiniti might be seen as being simple and straightforward, where it's a luxury crossover first to prioritize interior comfort and a traditional upscale SUV driving experience, whereas Acura has really embraced the role of having sporty characteristics and being all-around fun, yet practical. For us, both crossovers do a lot of things right, and ultimately it boils down to what you want in a 3-year-old crossover. If an engaging driving experience is what you're looking for, the MDX fits the bill. But if you want a sense of class and a small taste of sophistication, that's where the QX60 might be worth taking a closer look. We hope you enjoyed this comparison between the Infiniti QX60 and Acura MDX. Please like, comment, share, and subscribe for more videos like this one. And if you're interested in buying a luxury or performance crossover, make sure to check out our full reviews and quick buyer's guides to help you find your next vehicle. And thanks for watching.